Hey guys, come on in. Today, we're gonna be talking about, as a real estate agent or investor, is it important to have your own office space? So we'll go a little bit over what my personal experience has been and when I think it makes sense to have an office or when it makes sense just to work from home. We have an upstairs unit, so let me go ahead and walk you up there and we can check it out. Let me walk you over into my office so we can sit down and chat. When I started and I got into real estate, I interviewed with each of the brokerages here in my town. And I made a spreadsheet about which brokerages, you'd make the most money. I knew I wanted to be a top producer. And so I've created a spreadsheet about, how much money I would make per transaction. And basically once I got to about 10, 15 transactions, it made the most sense to work with Keller Williams Realty because they had a cap. None of the other local offices had a cap at that time. The nearest Keller Williams office was in Eugene, which is an hour drive away from where I live now. My whole first year as a real estate agent, I didn't have an office to go to. I had to learn the ropes basically myself, and if I had a question, I just called my principal broker. I never actually saw them face to face. So I was very used to working from my home office because that's all I knew. Now, I had a spare room set up with my computer, and actually I think I started just with my laptop in my living room. I never had clients ask me, if they could meet at my office. Anytime I went to a listing, we always of course did that at the subject property, and buyers, you always meet at the subject property they want to look at. So it was never a problem for me to work from home, and I actually think that might be part of my success because I didn't pick up the bad habits of other agents who had been sitting in an office for 20 plus years stuck in their ways, or getting stuck around the water cooler like a lot of agents talk about, the gossip in the market. And I didn't have anybody to waste my time. So I sat at home and basically watched YouTube videos like you are right now, or, studied programs and read books and did different things to get the advice that I got was from top producers that sold hundreds of homes per year, rather than having the agents in my office, steer me one direction or another. We actually worked out of my home office until just last year. Just last year is when we had this built out. This office space was actually just blank 1,000 square feet. I actually got to design it. It was really fun. I wanted to make sure I had a window seat, so I had this, and then there's 2 offices in the back and another office up here. Now, if I'm sure you've noticed, it isn't necessarily all set up for clients. It's less the office is less set up for clients and more set up for us. So when I was working from my home office, I was running a multiple 6-figure business out of my spare bedroom. So it started out with me, and then I brought on my operations manager and now my principal broker, Drew, and it was just the 2 of us. So just the 2 of us guys hanging out. He showed up at 8 a.m. every morning and we got to work. And you could do that out of a home office. If it's just you and an admin, why not work out of your home office and save the money? It wasn't until I started hiring more assistants. We now are a team of 5. So it's myself, Drew, my operations manager, and then we have 3 admin staff. 2 ISA kind of client care specialists, and then 1 buyer's agent showing assistant is her role. Once we hired our first assistant outside of him and I, it wasn't professional to have hiring young girls or interviewing them, out of your living room. It just didn't feel appropriate. And that would be the only time that I would actually suggest looking in to an office. So once we started the interviewing process and we were looking to add more assistants, that's when I decided it was time for us to have an office space. By the time that we decided to do this, we were already running, it was just me and Drew, but it was a multiple 6-figure company out of my spare bedroom. And Keller Williams had finally made an office here in town, but they had already filled up and they were renting out the space for like a couple $100 per small office. So we decided to start looking at other spaces. I also had a good amount of money saved up for my next investment, so I was looking also at buying and where that would make sense. We started touring offices basically out of necessity. I did have myself, my operations manager Drew, and one assistant working out of my spare bedroom, but you really have to have a special kind of person that's okay with that. I mean, we're all sharing a bathroom. It's my house, you know, so a lot of times I'd be stuck on an hour phone call, I'd be folding laundry or whatever. You know, you really have to have people that are okay with that for the home office to make sense once you start building a team. If you're just a solo agent and you're just working by yourself and you don't have employees, I would recommend staying put and staying at your home office if you can get away with that. The lower that you can keep your overhead, the better. And if you can just meet a client at, you know, your local office, you know, whenever they decide to meet, then why wouldn't you do that? There's no reason for you to go out and get your own office. I'm sure a question that you guys are asking is like, well, has it increased business at all? Does it actually help you? Well, when we decided to do this, I was just launching my investment company. And so my thought was, hey, Drew, you get your principal broker's license, you can open your own office, you know, because he had already been talking about it. I can open the investment company out of the same building, and now there is a spot locally that if someone wants an offer, they can just walk into the office and ask for an offer. I was a little naive in thinking that. I mean, we've had little to no walk-ins, and I mean, I've had like one person come in and actually sit down and want me to give them an offer on their property or go take a look at it, but it's not very often that I've experienced that. I've had probably tens, I mean, to be honest, tens of clients walk in here, but they found me online. I mean, that's where I've always gotten my clients. Online marketing is where I found them. I'm not sitting here at the office waiting for somebody to walk in the door. I mean, that's never been my business model, and it hasn't really added to it. If anything, it's more of a pain in the ass. You know, I have different vendors and insurance agents. I'll be sitting in here on a phone call and I'll have these people sitting here sitting on my couch, waiting to talk with me that want to sell me something or, you know, want to recruit me as a client. If anything, that's the kind of thing that makes me miss working from my home office, where I could wear a t-shirt and some sweatpants until my next appointment. And then once my appointment, you know, it was time to go out to my appointment, that's when I put on the slacks and the button up. So it's just more comfortable. There are some things that I don't like about this, and I'll get up and I'll kind of show you just some of the different things that we have. I did design the layout, so as far as the layout's concerned, couldn't get any better, really, if I say so myself. But the unit itself is upstairs. That's part of the reason why it's only $1 a square foot, even though we're in a Class A building and, you know, we were able to design it and everything. The fact that we're in an upstairs unit, my clients that are handicapped, you know, in a wheelchair or a walker, they're not coming up the stairs because there's no elevator. There is a lobby down there, and that's kind of how we get around that. I can meet clients down in the lobby and it work out just fine. With the office being more for, like I said, my team, you know, we leave the soccer goals out so that we can get up. A lot of times I'll just kind of kick them around while I'm on the phone and stuff. And we do like little team things. Like we also got ourselves a basketball hoop, so if you need to blow off a little bit of steam, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. As a real estate broker, I mean, there's so many hour-long phone calls that I couldn't even tell you. So if you're stuck on one of those phone calls for an hour, or you're just kind of listening to your client vent or whatever, there's no harm in kicking around a ball or, hey, I made it that time. Another benefit to having the office is, you know, I used to have 30 of these things in my shed or my garage. Well, having the office, I have an area that I can put that. So I mean, I have access to this whole attic space. You know, it saves me from having to have a storage unit or it taking up room at my personal home. This is Drew's office, my principal broker and operations manager. So he puts all of our transactions up here on the board. So it's an easy visual for me to come in here and see what's going on, what, you know, dates, because I don't handle the transaction management part once I put a deal into escrow. We also have our past sales and everything that we have going on, as well as this board that, you know, we have a goal of 10 units closed per month. So this is a board of 120 units so that I can tab up my little pending or sold tag each time that we put another house under contract or sell it. It's a good visual for the team, for everybody to see. Once you move into an office, clients can pop in anytime. And with that, something I think is really important is being ready to ask them if they need any refreshments or anything. Typically, I have this bowl filled with snacks. Right now, we're actually in the coronavirus, so we've just been chilling and eating all these snacks. But we usually have snacks and drinks always available, and that's something that I think is super important whenever somebody walks in, for you to be able to offer them that, or have one of your assistants offer them that. Some of the other office must-haves is I have the Alexa in here, and so this is pretty convenient whenever I can be like, Alexa, drop in on Drew's office.
Okay, dropping in.
So this is super convenient, so I can drop in on, my assistants or on my operations manager, if there's anything that I need to talk to them about, rather than walking all the way across the office or calling them on my cell phone. So I found this to be a very effective tool. Not to mention, if you're sitting here with a client and a question comes up, Alexa, how far away is the moon?
The astronomical distances of the moon and Earth are 238,857 miles.
That's what I thought. Another thing that I think is totally awesome to have display in your office is, this kind of shows some of my personal things, but it just talks about, basically being a real estate investor and, getting to that mark. Has some of my awards, and here's some of my other awards from, when I was with Keller Williams. I got the Rookie of the Year and the Top Solo Agent my first year. So there's some cool things that not only show recognition, but also let your clients, get to know you a little bit, if you do have clients that come into the office. When should you get an office? You should get an office when you're ready for it and when it's, by demand, which I would think the only time that you should actually look into getting an office would be when your team has outgrown, a home office, or whenever you start hiring. It's more appropriate to have a professional space to, when you're running a professional business. How much does it cost to have an office? Well, not only is it $1,100 a month in just our lease, which we had to sign a 3-year lease to get into here, we also have to pay all the utilities. Even if the HVAC unit goes out, we have to replace it. I mean, there's different stipulations in there that add to more cost. Furniture. I used quite a bit of furniture for my home office, but I would say that I still have several $1,000s worth of furniture, at least probably a handful of thousands of dollars worth of desks, chairs, especially as you start getting a bigger team, plus the office furniture, the couch out there, the flat screen TV, the music system. Another thing that you wouldn't really think about is things just like garbage bags, and you gotta buy double the toilet paper, double the paper towels, double the cleaning supplies. All of those are things to take into consideration as well as as an expense. So are you ready for those expenses? Do you really think that the office is going to benefit you enough that you're going to make more money to make up for the fact that it was such a cost? Could have we gotten away with a smaller office? Probably, but we have room for maybe 8 to 10 people here, something like that. And I knew that we were going to grow. I mean, for a commercial space, at least in my market, it wasn't common to have month to month. You were signing at least a year lease, and I mean, in our case, we had to sign a 3-year lease. I expected my team to grow exponentially over that 3-year period. I've only been in business for 3 years as it is, so for me to look at that, the long term, I wanted to prepare. So we took on, more space so that we had room to grow. I do think it's cool having your own office space because you get to show off things like the vision board, things like guitar. Those things have started a lot of conversations when I do have people come in, even though it's not often. So thank you guys for watching today. Appreciate you coming in. You got to tour my office a little bit. Got to see some of the things that I recommend having in the office, and also hopefully when it makes sense to have an office in my own personal experience. So thanks again for popping by and for watching and sticking with me. If you want to like, comment, subscribe, let me know. Are you in the process of getting an office? Is it time for you to get an office? Feel free to post your questions below, and I look forward to answering them. So thanks again, and I will be seeing you guys on the next one.